So we all heard about the event in Norway yesterday, the massive spiral in the sky, the perfect spiral that was accompanied by some strange black hole type event that just engulfed the whole thing. And it was explained away by the military, the Russian military, saying that it was a failed Bulava missile. They said that the missile was launched from a submarine in the White Sea, and that the first two stages of the rocket worked fine, and then the third stage failed, and it leaked liquid fluid. Well, there's a few problems with this theory. The first is that these Bulava missiles that they were testing supposedly actually uses a solid propellant. Now we could see from the pictures that there was actually some sort of missile or rocket launch. You could see from the bottom right where it's circled that there it does look like a true rocket launch or a missile launch. That's how the trail looks. But what's weird is after that first stage, then the trail, that spiral, that loop-de-loop-de-loop-de spiral, the blue thing that goes up, it's actually perfect. It's not affected by any wind. Not only that, but the spirals aren't affected by any wind or anything. That stuff gets blown around real quick. Look at how any rocket launch trail looks. It's very chaotic, and that thing was just perfect. And even if you look at the contrails from a jet, especially if they're chemtrails that stay up there for a while, you see that they get blown around and distorted real quick. Now that spiral, it must have been hundreds of miles wide, because they say that it was launched from the White Sea, right? And it was just perfect. Completely perfect spirals. But that brings me to my next problem. They say it was launched from the White Sea, but the White Sea, as you can see from this picture, was a minimum of 500 or 600 kilometers away from where they saw it. Do you think that they'd be able to witness it that well, 500 or 600 kilometers away? And it had to have launched straight up, not towards Norway, because they say it didn't fail till the third stage. Also, any other time a rocket or a missile starts to fail, they blow it up right away so that it can't do something crazy and go into the wrong country or something. That would be a disaster for them. They blow it up as soon as it starts to go wrong. This event lasted for minutes. So the truth of the matter is the White Sea was too far away for that event to have occurred there. Not only that, but you could see like the glow coming down from the spirals focusing in one spot. You can see the blue spiral, the loop-de-loop looking spiral coming down. It focuses at the same spot where it was launched on the ground. Obviously that's some kind of focal lens pointing at the center of the spiral where the black hole starts to occur. But if it didn't come from the White Sea, what is in that area? Well, it's been confirmed that it's actually the Russian equivalent of the HARP system, the massive radio antenna that beams out focused energy into any part of the atmosphere or ionosphere. Now here's a theory from Cliff High, and this is what I think is most likely. Remember, the Copenhagen Treaty is going on next door, as well as Obama receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. It seems like this would be the perfect time for the Russians to display their superiority, their military might. So this is an interview with Cliff High, the leader of the WebBot project, on Jeff Rense Radio tonight.
Okay, and let's get right back to business with Cliff High, halfpasthuman.com. $10, The Shape of Things to Come, issue 3 is out now. Go get it. All right, if you look at the top of my homepage, most of you have seen the picture, perhaps there or elsewhere. Norway, a truly bizarre apparition, as it were, in the sky, difficult to describe easily, so take a look at it. The Russians came out today, I guess around 24 hours after the original photographs began to run all over the internet, and said it was an out-of-control MIRV ICBM test. Having looked at hundreds, I don't know, of Vandenberg launches in Southern California, when they put them off at twilight or dusk, and the rocket rises, and the upper atmospheric winds push the contrail in strange ways, not quite as exacting as these, and then as it gets up into the upper ionosphere, stratosphere, and then goes into space, it's up into the sun, and it turns into, anyway, you can watch the whole thing. So I could project that on this and understand how it could be. But Cliff is telling me that he's picked up other information, and I am all ears, please.
Yeah, there's a couple of issues there. First off, I don't believe in meaningless coincidence. So the
let me say one other thing quickly while you're clearing up there. I've watched again so many launches. I have never seen one even close to being that precise in its layout. That is remarkable. So that's quite a scene, and I hope all of you take a look at it. We don't know what it is for sure. The Russians may have just put out a story to do, again, some kind of a public service.
They're actually covering up their other work in that area.
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
The source of this, the island for which the thing was theoretically aimed, is actually the source of one of their woodpecker installations, their harp. And there's these three fellows, an Uzbeki, a Russian, and a German, that have this radio station, and they broadcast probably what we would think of as pirate. And I've been listening to it because I can pick up on the German and some of the Russian. And really what they're describing is that the whole rocket thing is a cover for a demonstration of a destruction of the actual ether by the HARP installation in Russia as a warning or whatever to the people that were attending the military people that are involved in the Copenhagen.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Explain to me destruction of the ether for our listeners.
The ether is a concept that dates back to the Greeks, but it's also called the Dirac Sea or the zero-point medium, and it basically is the dark energy stuff that you always hear the NASA scientists blathering on about. Doesn't really exist as they think it does. But nonetheless, it is the point from which continuous creation and matter appears, if you follow hyperdimensional physics and torsion physics and all of that. Anyway, the statement from the Russian, who's a very knowledgeable scientist on there, you can tell just from listening to him, is that the whole point of this was not the spiral or the interesting little blue effect or the glowing anything. It was that black hole that seemed to open up there and expand, and it was an actual demonstration that you can send missiles at us or do anything you want, and look, we can actually destroy the place at which matter is created.
Wow.
And they created a gravitational hole there. There's reports out of Finland that there was a large dip in the gravitational wave or of their sensors that was the equivalent of 10 or 20 airplanes while this was going on. And apparently they have these sensors all over the planet that would literally pick up a large airplane flying over you and the distortion it makes in local gravity. And so the Russian was citing the stuff from the Finns about what was going on. They thought all their instruments were breaking, and they were unaware of what was actually occurring. But the after effect or the blowback from this was being overshot them, and it distorted local gravity.
Well, I've never seen a rocket leave a trail like this anywhere near it. Not
Yeah, with that blue light going back to the HARP installation, it's kind of like a...
And if you look back down in the picture to the ground, there is obviously a white luminescence at the base of it. I don't know what that's about.
That would be the focal point or the lens for the thing,
Yeah. Well, this is very interesting. Very interesting. So it might have been a calling card to somebody or some group of bodies. Don't mess.
Or a demonstration of a certain level of knowledge, certainly,
Yeah. Well, these are the kinds of things that are fascinating. And if you hear anything else about that, I'd like to know, because when they put the rocket story on, I posted it, but I've seen too many. It just didn't work.
It was too pat.
Didn't work for